Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are here for another Pick'ems challenge, but it's the NBA. It's not CSGO. My apologies if you got your hopes up, but this is not a long video. This is an easy video. I'm not presenting any bias. There's nothing affecting my mind in any way, any of my choices. It's the NBA playoffs. There's no coin virtually that we're participating here for, but there's still bragging rights, and there's still a sense of accomplishment to be made from picking this all the way through. Let's start at the top. These games start in 15 minutes for me, and I don't want to be skewed, so let's get this over with. Denver versus Minnesota. Man, oh man, those play-in games. 4 games? Was it just 4 or was it 6? It was 6 play-in games, and they were so fun to watch. And Minnesota came out so hot against the Lakers and showed us why Cat is so dangerous without Rudy. And then they get Rudy back. And even though their offense seems clunky with him in there, seems too big, seems a little too slow, he had a good game against OKC. And I think this is going to be a dangerous matchup for Denver. When you have Rudy going against Jokic, that's a decent matchup. Obviously, Jokic isn't spending all of his time in the paint, but the Jazz and the Nuggets have been pretty decent rivals in the past when Rudy was on that team with Donovan Mitchell. Oh man, and then he got Cat and Anthony Edwards. It's going to be a very tight series. I am going to go with Denver because of their health, because they have a bunch of underrated supporting cast members, but I'm going with 7 in 7 because they have the best player in Jokic, because they have one of the MVPs, and I think they have an underrated supporting cast that doesn't get nearly enough credit. In Michael Porter, when he's healthy, he's so efficient, and he's good at all phases of the game. Let's move on to Phoenix versus the Clippers. I think without Paul George, this is easy. This is an easy pick. Obviously, Kawhi Leonard is a top-tier player in the NBA, but Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, when this team is played together, healthy, with all their assets, I think this is one of the teams that we could really see going all the way. The Clippers are respectable. They have decent depth themselves, but honestly, I'm not trying to overthink it too much here. It's Phoenix, and I'm saying Phoenix in 5. Without Paul George, we can go ahead and look up what his injury is like, but let's see what Ty Lue said. He's not right. Yeah, so even if he comes back, it's probably not going to make a difference. Phoenix is probably lower seeded than they should be based on even without Kevin Durant. If you look at their team before the trade, they're still a great team. And then they, of course, give up Mikal Bridges and some depth, but they still have good supporting members. And in the playoffs, obviously, supporting members don't matter as much if they're not playing in the game. So depth, not really an issue for Phoenix when taking on the Clippers. Now we have Golden State and Sacramento. Unfortunately, I am going to go Golden State in 6 here. I do like the Kings. They have one of the best ratings in the NBA offensively, if not the best. I just don't see how Golden State could lose when you have Steph Curry, when you have the experience, when you're coming off the high of winning a national championship, when you have good coaching. And we have pretty much the same roster as what won last year. It's kind of like the same situation as the Suns. Lower seed than they should be. This is a strong team. And the Kings, we'll see you next year. 78% are picking the Warriors, so nothing crazy here. And then a lot of people are picking the Lakers. I'm not big on Memphis. I'm not big on Ja Morant. I think he's got to prove that he can be efficient, that he can make good decisions down the stretch. How's sober Ja Morant going to act in the playoffs? How is his confidence going to be like? But I actually am going to take them. I'm worried about the Lakers. I'm worried about AD and his health. I'm worried that he's going to miss a couple games, and that's going to make all the difference. I'm going to go ahead and say Memphis in 6 games here. And let's move on to the Eastern Conference. Milwaukee, pretty simple, pretty cut and dry. I do think Jimmy Butler, the effect that he has in the playoffs is huge. It says 0% of people are picking Miami, 97. So what's the other people picking? I don't know, but you have Giannis. You have a really good defensive team. Milwaukee, it might be a little overrated, per the seeding, but they just find ways to win games in the regular season. They have the same supporting cast. When Chris Middleton's playing well, this team is going to be hard to beat for anybody. I will go ahead and say Milwaukee in 5. 5 or 6, but I'll go 5. I think Miami squeaked one out. They did not look good against the Hawks at all. They have a good coach, but in that play-in game where the Hawks beat them, they beat them soundly, even with Kyle Lowry having a career Heat performance for himself. Cleveland and Knicks. This is the hardest matchup in the first round. I think bar none. Like, there's no other matchup that really is giving me as much trouble. And I really want to go with the Knicks. There is some injury trouble. Apparently Brunson, apparently Randall are both dealing with some lingering issues. And also Randall is not even 100% for whether or not he's going to start or play considerable minutes in this first matchup. If Cleveland can steal any sort of game that the Knicks need, if they can take any game in Madison Square Garden, it could be Cleveland in 5, which I think is crazy to say because these teams are so evenly matched. But Cleveland has the best defense in the league by rating, and they have a decent offense, top 10 in the league. I think this is kind of like, I don't want to say a UConn, but this is a really good team with a star player in Donovan Mitchell who always turns up when you need him most. I will go Cleveland in 6 here, and expect them to, even though I'm saying in 6, expect them to probably drop one in the first couple games, or at least a couple at home. It's not going to be one that you can predict night by night. Jalen Brunson might go off. He's respectable. They have a lot of good supporting members on the Knicks. I don't know if Cleveland, who's going to score beyond Mitchell, Garland, and whoever's in the paint. I'm a little concerned about that, but I just think the Knicks, Randall, I'm not sure how he's going to show up in the playoffs. He's an excellent player. He has got caliber for being an excellent player, an MVP level player. But let's move on and not try to think about it too much more. Philadelphia or Brooklyn? I cannot believe that this is 94-6. And, that is the highest rating one. I can't believe that more people think that the Nets will beat the Sixers than the Hawks will beat the Celtics. I kind of can't. The Nets, I'm sorry, it's maybe I should just go 5 just to cover my bases here, but definitely I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and say I would take the Sixers game in and game out. I'd flip a coin and say on heads the Sixers win, and on tails the Nets lose, because it's really not going to be any sort of battle when you have 3 or 4 guys who can really give you buckets on any night for the Sixers. And for the Nets, if we're trying to match up like talent here, Mikal Bridges is going out of his way to sign himself up for a mega deal, but I don't know if that's the kind of guy we're going to see in the playoffs, at least offensively. All around, he's an excellent player, but a 40-point game per night, they need it. They need it, and maybe they'll get it because they don't have many other sources. They have Dinwiddie, they have Curry, I guess. They have some bigs. They have Joe Harris. They have a lot of great role players, but guess what? That doesn't do anything when you're going against Joel Embiid, when you're going against James Harden. Imagine if Kyrie was still on this team, if he didn't leave for the Nets. I think it would be a different story. We'd have a decent series here, but there's really just no star power for me to consider. I don't know why I'm spending so much time on this. And then Boston and the Hawks. I'm actually a little bit on edge about the Hawks. I feel like people are underrating them. Yes, I know supporting cast doesn't matter, but they have the depth in terms of star power and athleticism. We can see them blow by the Celtics, I think, in a couple games in this series. And I feel like the Celtics might take the foot off the gas if they feel like, they just want to preserve their health and win the long run. I'm going to go with Celtics in 6 here. I think the Hawks pull off a couple because they have some star players and because they underperformed pretty much the entire season, but on paper they are an impressive looking team. So I'll give them benefit of the doubt that they'll win a couple. But yeah, we're staying pretty standard here. No real surprises. Maybe the Lakers is the one surprise here, taking the Grizzlies over them. But moving on, I'm going to go with the Phoenix Suns here. Obviously, I'm not sure about who's going to guard Jokic in terms of the entire game. Obviously, Ayton is going to be probably his assignment, but I just see Kevin Durant squeaking this one out. Devin Booker is a clutch three-point shooter. He could also turn it off at any given time. I could see Denver winning this series. It's tough. It is really tough. But I'm already on this page, and I just don't have the energy to switch off. So I'm going to go with Phoenix in 7 here, and say that the best players win the series. Kevin Durant's one of the best players of all time, and so is Jokic. But you got Booker, you got a good defense. Let's check out the ratings for the Suns versus the Nuggets. The Nuggets are great at winning regular season games, and they're great at going deep into series and giving you the works. Offensive rating wise, the Suns obviously didn't have KD all year, but they're not great, only top 15. Defensive rating wise, they are close to top 5. Whereas the Nuggets, you just scroll down, it's pretty comparable. Which is why I'm saying we're going to 7. But KD, I feel like he's going to lock in, and he's going to be hard to guard for pretty much anybody on that team. I'm concerned for Denver because they have this difficult 1-2, getting by Timberwolves with a lot of star power, getting by the Suns with a lot of star power. I think Phoenix is guaranteed to win that first series. So, I feel like Denver is going to be tested. Michael Porter, I don't know how much we've actually seen of him in the playoffs. Jamal Murray, we know, is stellar in the playoffs, or at least was in the bubble, but these guys haven't played in a while. Who knows? Maybe that clean slate, and I mean in like a high competitive play, maybe that clean slate will benefit them. But I just feel like Phoenix has been here before, and I think they have a little bit of hunger for that vengeance of actually having some success deeper into the playoffs. I'm going to go with Phoenix, moving on. And then you got Golden State versus Memphis. Oh boy. What do you say? I'm going with Golden State. I'm going with them in 6. Memphis, I feel like even if they get past the Lakers, that'll be a miracle. And I know I'm saying them in 6, but Golden State is still, they are who they are. They're going to be locked down. They're going to be good defenders when it counts, and they're going to shoot the lights out. Their offensive rating isn't great, but overall in the playoffs, they always seem to elevate their play. And I would be concerned about facing them no matter what seed they are, whether they're 8 and they're coming in slow or they're 1 and they're coming in fast. Obviously it's either way. Also, wouldn't you just want to see this matchup with KD going up against the Warriors? Let's move on. Milwaukee and Cleveland, pretty cut and dry here. But, Cleveland has some big men who can maybe give Antetokounmpo some worries, some concerns. You got Mobley and Allen. Allen's obviously stellar defensive player, and Mobley can run and be more athletic. And I don't know. I feel like Drew Holiday, also a great defensive player. When you have 2 great guards on Cleveland you're depending on, it's hard to go up against a guy like Drew Holiday when you know he's going to really just take out one of them. I'm going to go ahead and say, again in 5, Milwaukee is going to take this series. I feel like I might be a little bit too high on Milwaukee here. Like maybe they'll go 6 against Miami, maybe they'll go 6 here. But you know what? Antetokounmpo, he's been here so many times. I don't think he takes it for granted. I think he's just getting better and better. He wasn't the MVP that we saw this year, but I think that's almost in his favor because he's not going as hard. He's saving his energy for when it counts. He knows that the finals, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I definitely see them hitting the Eastern Conference Finals in one way or another. Pardon these messages. Philadelphia and Boston, I'd go with Boston in 6 here. I think they could definitely win it in 5 as well. I'm not really concerned about Philly, but I do think James Harden has elevated his play a little bit. He's become a better team player and has fit the element that he needed to fit in order to maximize the efficiency of Philadelphia, in order to really make Joel Embiid at his best, in order to make the team better. So yeah, I'm going with Boston, but it's gonna be a good series. It's gonna be better than we've seen in the past between these two teams. Boston usually has this team's number. Let's move back up to Phoenix and Golden State. And we're saying there's a reason that Golden State is 6th seed this year. We're betting a lot on Phoenix gelling and coming together at this point, only being together since the All-Star break with the kind of guys that they have on their roster and the kind of guys that they're playing a lot of minutes, like Torrey Craig. But I just feel like there's a reason that the Warriors aren't as highly touted this year. Obviously, Klay Thompson looks healthier, looks like he's playing better, but I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, I could see you going with Golden State all the way to the finals, but they could also get beat along the way, and I think Phoenix has an easier route. We're talking about who has the easier route here, who's got the highest chance of winning each matchup and therefore highest probability of ending up in the finals. And I'm going to go with the Suns, and I'm going to go with them in 6 or 7. What do you think? 6. And moving on down here, it's a tough one, man. It is really tough. Boston has to show that with a new coach, they can still have the same results. I feel like Ime Udoka was a huge part of their success in providing the stability and the ability to beat better teams or teams that might come out with better game plans. I don't think he was great at the beginning of the year. You saw Boston come together about midway through the season and really show us why Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown matter so much to this team. And then this year they started off so hot, and it's kind of the exact opposite, where you see them not sliding into the playoffs, but not finishing as that number 1 seed. Show that they kind of took their foot off the gas and wanted to prioritize the health over anything else. So we're going to actually go with Boston here. It's going to be a good series. They've beat them in the past. They've had their number in the past, but it's taken big games out of guys like Al Horford, etc. Here's the thing. They don't need Al Horford to have that kind of game because they have Malcolm Brogdon this year. They have Derek White, who had a stellar year. As long as Marcus Smart is kind of back to playoff form and isn't taking too much of a role in offense, I just feel like the Celtics are kind of unbeatable with the options that are presently available to them, and all their offensive weapons are also equally as effective at defense. It's just the perfect formula. It's going to be tough against Antetokounmpo, but you have Robert Williams probably for all those games as long as he's healthy. He's really taken his time coming back, really changed his methods of his approach to the game, and you don't see as many block-happy moments, but you do see him having the same exact effect and efficiency on this offense and on the defense. And yes, I said offense because his team is totally different, 100% different when he's on the floor. So when he's healthy, you knew how much of a difference that made last year, and you add all these extra pieces. I think it's just a great formula for the Celtics going all the way. And then you have the orange versus the green, a little bit of Halloween colors for you. In the finals, you got Boston versus Phoenix. You got KD versus Jason Tatum. And I like the matchup for the Celtics. I really do. I think they can cover all their guards. I think they cover all their points. They have more depth. I think they have they have almost just as good bigs in terms of not star power, but just who can win each possession. Ayton is a strong big for the Suns, but I just think he can get countered so easily by either Horford or Williams, and there's so many more guys off the bench who have played bigger roles, who are confident that they can play good in minutes, and I don't know if the Suns have that. I feel like even them reaching this far is almost a miraculous feat because it's hard to get somebody in the middle of your season and have him carry your team all the way. For the same reason that I feel like the Suns can beat Golden State because they have the easier, or they can get to the finals because they have the easier route, I think the Celtics might beat the Phoenix Suns for that same reason. Their biggest competition would come in this Milwaukee series, but if they can beat Milwaukee, I see them going all the way. And in 6 last year they lost, and in 6 this year they will win. And the point margin in Game 1 of the NBA Finals, the margin, I guess that means like the difference. So we're going to go with 7 points. I think the Celtics are going to come out hot in Game 1. And we're going to lock that in. Thank you guys for watching. Jason Tatum versus Kevin Durant in this year's NBA Finals. Are you excited about that? Do you believe me? Are you feeling any of these teams that I've doubted? Drop a like, drop a subscribe, whatever. Don't if you don't want to, though. Don't let me pressure you. I hope you guys are having a great weekend, a great Saturday, a great Sabbath. And rest up. Enjoy these NBA games. Be thankful for this time of the year. We also have NHL playoffs right around the corner, so a lot of fun to be had. All my sports fans out there. Yeah, my picks are in, and the game is starting. So let's go.